Hey everyone, what's up? We're back over at CinemAddicts, Abraham's Boys. This is for our Patreon members and eventually people who subscribe to our CinemAddicts YouTube channel. YouTube channel subscribers, thank you so much. You guys get it maybe several days after opening weekend. But if you join our Patreon subscribers, Patreon patrons, you will get these spoilers before the movies come out to actually. So it's Eric. So I'm thinking for our Patreon members, if they're not going to the theaters and they want to see something like, oh, this one will be exclusively in theaters, they can actually watch Abraham's Boys on the opening weekend, and they can play our early access video on the
Yeah.
Patreon feed.
I would not watch this. If you're watching this and you haven't seen Abraham's Boys, I would dip out, watch Abraham's Boys and come back.
Yes, yes.
But because I guess that's fair to say, because sometimes there's spoilers where we don't want to spoil it, but at the same time, you should know, you might want to know this is coming because just know, like a trigger warning thing. But if the trigger warning has to do with a spoiler, you can't really say what it is.
All right, yeah, no, totally.
That's not the case for this, although I guess it could be, but not really.
I'm
But
glad that we get to talk about Abraham's Boys right now because
yeah,
you had things during our review that you were holding back on for Abraham's Boys. Do you want to start with just your thoughts
yeah.
on?
So the basic gist of it is this movie's a lot like Frailty because we saw Van Helsing and his kids and how they bring up the stuff of vampires, and what it leads to is his kids are wondering if their dad's crazy or if he's actually fighting vampires, and they're leaning more towards he's crazy, even so much so that they end up killing him at the end. I could be wrong. I don't remember. Was he crazy or not?
I
Because
th-
I don't recall anything like in my brain sucks, but I don't recall anything set in stone that he absolutely was wrong or that vampires actually exist.
you said two things, which is correct because two things. This is my interpretation. I think this is a situation where two things are correct. Abraham Van Helsing, again played by Titus Welliver, is crazy, is insane, is mentally unfit, has mental health issues. Number one. Number two, Dracula exists, right?
But was he a
I'm
vampire? That's the
that
question.
I think I would like to say this is my wishful thinking. I would like to say that maybe Dracula does exist. He did exist. That creature did exist. And because of that, because of the killings that Van Helsing had to undertake during that time, the Dracula story better than I do, probably because I think you read Stoker's novel way back in the day.
Yeah.
Because of all of that fallout, he rightfully moved his family to Central Cal. I haven't, by the way, I still have not read Joe Hill's short story. Definitely want to read that now
So
because,
here's a quick thing on that. I started listening to they got an audio book of it on YouTube,
oh, cool.
and it's not very good. It's quite distracting, so I had to bail on that.
Okay.
I'm sure the short story is good, but the person reading it was like
Oh,
they
yeah.
had too many dramatic pauses to the point where it got incredibly distracting to listen to it. So that might be a situation where I'll just have to get the book and actually read it. Read it.
Yeah. And by the way, listeners over Cinematics, you never have to worry about dramatic pauses here at our Cinematics podcast because I have AI remove everything, every kind of human
There you
interaction.
go. Much to often to the video's detriment.
Yeah. Hey, don't say that, Eric. I like the way AI is working. Okay, going back to Abraham's Boys. So I don't know what your take is. I think those things exist. Dracula exists, insanity exists, and the boys have every right to actually kill their father. And that is Max Van Helsing, played by Brady Hepner. He ends up. Does he?
So
I think,
basically, what you're saying is that the Dracula exists as a vampire, but everything that happened after that is product of Van Helsing's PTSD, right?
100%.
Like, so the people that he's holding down, like he just thinks that they're that, and
Right.
he's actually turned into a murderer himself.
I think that's an interpretation. I don't know what your
I
specific. That was
I actually
just
don't
me.
hate that interpretation, and I kind of want to watch it again because, again, I can't recall if they put a button on it that's like this.
Oh,
It's either totally this way or totally that way. I can't recall the
well,
ending that much.
you might disagree with me because I think the big button as far as explaining the ending of Abraham's Boys is when, remember, Abraham doesn't really fully accept his sons too much because he's very overprotective. So another
Yeah,
thing is you're wondering, does he really love his sons? Well, yeah, but how much does he love him? He's so overprotective that he's become a poison to the family. right?
Yeah.
So, for example, here's another thing. Mina Van Helsing, played by Jocelin Donaue, when she gets sick and dies, is she getting sick because she's mentally ill from, and that you said PTSD from believing that Dracula, whether he exists or not, is still in her? Is it true that she feels his presence? Is that true for Mina Van
See, my
Helsing?
my take on that is that she's sick. She's actually sick, but from something unrelated.
Or like a physiological thing, right? Or
Yeah.
another interpretation that could you could put is Mina Van Helsing becoming sick because of her husband by over loving her too much and overprotecting her. He's giving her these psychosomatic situations which bleeds into her health too. So it's one of these.
It could be that. I just read that as she was sick of something unrelated, and they attributed it to vampirism.
I think you and I can, whether we agree or disagree, it's great because we can throw out all these
Yeah.
interpretations and they apply. I think this is what
Yeah.
makes the story work. Okay. So
I think our only disagreement is that you think that she's not actually sick, but like tricking her body into thinking she's sick because of all that stuff. Like there's a word for that, and I can't think of what it is. What I'm saying is that she probably has like a chronic flu or something that they're attributing, but it's functionally the same thing. Whether it's the one or the other.
And I think the tragedy is when she dies, she feels she's not thinking the way you're thinking because science is saying that her body is deteriorating because of something that she's caught or something, some virus, but she's thinking she's dying because of Dracula. And that's the thing
Yeah.
that sucks. If we take your interpretation and she's leaving her family, I'm sure she doesn't want to leave the boys. And her death is very tragic because she essentially, you do see her death, but you don't see her die in front of her kids, which I'm sure she wanted to see her kids one last time, but she died. She's already dead when her husband, Abraham Van Helsing, sees her. You don't even see a close up of her. It's just him, if I recall, going to the bed and he's putting his hand on her, under her chin or something, looking for a pulse, searching for a pulse, and he starts breaking down a little bit. So that's a tragic moment of
Yeah.
Abraham's boys. What else do you want to say, Erik?
We also talked about in the main review about the ending, whether people like it or not. That has to do with the
Mm,
frailty knocked the sort of idea out of the park of the dad's going around killing demons, and then the one son's like, dad's crazy, and the other son's, no, I've seen the demons. No, he's got. So
right.
they play. That's all frailty is, and with Abraham's boys, it's almost a twist. That whole idea that maybe he's crazy, maybe he's not. But I like what they did, even though it copies the frailty idea. What I like what they did with Van Helsing is that we already have a history with Van Helsing. He's a character from a book. So they're recontextualizing a character that we're already familiar with. And I think that adds like a little extra something to it because it's like imagine, actually, this is a bad idea. This is a bad example, but it's an example. So you watch a Spider-Man movie, come to find out maybe Spider-Man's doesn't have superpowers. Maybe he just thinks he has superpowers. And then like Dr. Octopus and Green Goblin are just random people. He's constantly trying to fight them. People are like, what the hell are you doing? It adds that little extra thing since it's a character we're already familiar with.
Eric, let me ask you this question about Abraham Van Helsing. If he is a serial, do you think he is a mentally ill serial killer? For example, does he like killing women? Because at the beginning, there's a woman in Abraham's Boys. She's wandering. She looks like a nomad. You might think she might be an undead person. Maybe she's afflicted.
Are
And
you asking, do I think he's doing it on purpose?
do you know? Yeah. Does he? Do you think he's doing
No,
it because?
no.
Oh, you don't think
He's doing it because he believes that they're vampires or that he's doing. I don't think he's doing it for evil purposes. I think he's doing it for either like he's tricked somehow.
not for his own lust for blood? It's more
No,
of
he's not a serial killer. He's mentally ill, or they're actually vampires and no one else sees it. But either way, he's doing it because he truly believes he's killing vampires.
Oh, that's interesting because towards the end, okay, just a framework, that woman in the beginning, you think she might be afflicted with some kind of situation, but she's actually
Yeah,
just a normal woman wandering, just needing help, and he ends up locking her down in the basement, right?
yeah,
And at the end, the big reveal, one of the big reveals is Abraham shows his eldest son, Max, the book of all the women that he's
yeah.
killed over the years. And it's one of these things where it's essentially a serial killer's book because on the surface, he's killing all of these women, but like you just said, he's killing these women to for that blood transfusion and to cut the head off because he believes that will ward them off and everything. So he's doing it because
But also, when he showed his son that, he wasn't, look at all these women I killed. Isn't that cool?
that's
He's like,
true.
he shows it to him as, oh, you don't believe in vampires? Look at this book. Look at all
Right.
these vampires I killed.
It's
His
like
son's looking at it and go, you're nuts.
yeah, he's like showing him a Grey's Anatomy book, right?
Yeah.
It's like that. It's
Yeah.
a science.
And so Abraham doesn't do that if he's a psychotic murderer. He does that if he believes he's killing vampires.
Do you think it's a complaint that the youngest son didn't have as much of a shine in the movie, in the narrative? He didn't have much of a as much as the elder kid, or is that fine because it's really seen through the eyes of the
I
elder kid because the kid's just a kid. The kid hears voices and
I think it's fine because like the kids in Abraham's Boys they're pretty close to a similar mind, whereas in Frailty they were like diametrically opposed the whole way through. But that's with Abraham's Boys, that whole idea is just like the little extra sauce at the end, whereas in Frailty that's the whole story.
right.
What is he right? Is he right? It's the dad crazy? Is the dad a killer? Or is the dad the killer or is the dad a hero? We don't know throughout the whole thing. They're playing with that throughout the entire movie. With Abraham's Boys, they're playing with the lore of Dracula and playing with the lore of Van Helsing, and then they throw in that little extra wrinkle at the end that kind of recontextualizes everything.
You mentioned the wrinkle at the end, and we're talking about how the movie really ended as far as a knockout punch. Can you just elaborate what you loved about the ending of Abraham's Boys? And I'll add to that as well.
So, which ending we talking about?
Whatever ending you pick, whatever ending you want to talk about, and I'll throw.
I mean, oh, actually, speaking of another thing, Frailty is how they killed how they killed Abraham. They
Right.
used the axe Otis, which it doesn't say Otis on it, but that was a big thing in Frailty was Bill Paxton's axe Otis. That's what he would use to kill the demons. And I wonder if that was a movie just kind of winking at the audience, going, "We know, we've seen Frailty too."
I'm trying to think how. Yeah, he was killed by the axe. For
Yeah,
some
the son
reason,
cuts his head off with it. He
right,
first comes up behind him.
with the stake, with the stake. He stakes him.
The one son stakes him from the front, doesn't do
Yeah.
anything. The other son comes in from behind, hits him with the axe, and then he
Okay.
turns around and then eventually cuts his head off with the axe.
That is intense. And the
Yeah.
kids, they bury their own father in the yard of their house. And the movie ends with them burying their father, which is sometimes people saying burying their parents is as a symbolic or allegorical kind of philosophical
Some
thing.
may say they buried the lead.
Right, but they literally did bury the lead, which is Titus Welliver in the grave. They dug it and everything like that. And so as they're leaving, they're in what a carriage, right? Or what is it? They're leaving the house, just the brothers, and you have a great voiceover, and the voiceover is Abraham Van Helsing just instructing the sons about life, about how what his father told him. And that voiceover, which I can't completely remember the words, but I remember the context, that voiceover of Titus Welliver, aka Abraham Van Helsing, that voiceover which is swimming over the cinema where the boys are leaving their house on the horse and the cart and whatever, and they see that other woman in the sort of not a neighbor, but the cartographer played, which we didn't mention in our review. That cartographer is played by what's her name, Aurora Perrineau. She's looking at them, but they both have faraway eyes because it ends on that voiceover where Titus Welliver is talking about what his dad taught him. And the fact that it ends with that voiceover is you infer that this generational trauma of how to go about your life is going to be passed on to the boys. And I loved the use of voiceover. I like the look at how the boys are forever changed by killing their father and moving on. And even though they're moving on from the house, they're not moving on from their own demons. It will continue to haunt them. That's how I read it. I don't know. What about you?
Wonder if that has something to do with what they touched on at the end of Memento. You find out because the whole reason the movie goes backwards is you find out that he got his revenge already, but he
Right.
forgot about it, and then he's continuing to get revenge when it's already done, but he has no idea. I wonder if they're playing with that idea of
That's interesting.
Van Helsing killed Dracula. All right, your job's done, but he can't handle that. My job can't be done. I got more
Right.
to do.
That's a good
And then
point.
and then like mentally he creates this whole idea that vampires still exist. When they don't, Dracula's dead. It's done. But he can't let it go. He peaked too early, so to speak, but he still has to get some meaning out of his life to the point where he threw that onto the boys, and who knows, maybe they continue that or maybe they don't.
So it's an open-ended thing with the boys, but I think they continue. I'm not going to say they're going to continue to cut women's heads off and whatnot,
Oh,
but I think it at least can be
but
inferred that they're going to carry their father's presence with them in a negative fashion,
yeah,
probably moving forward. Is that?
maybe. Or maybe they by killing their dad, they ended it, and now they're just going to go about their lives normal as they should have.
Oh, I don't think because that voiceover, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. That's true. You're right. They could have gone
But
past
again,
it.
I'd have to watch it again. I don't remember exactly the voiceover, but I'm just thinking of the whole idea of I killed Dracula. That's what I'm meant to do. I'm a vampire hunter. What does a vampire hunter do? What does a hammer do when there's no nails left? Find other nails, and it's just going to keep hitting things, thinking they're all nails. And it's
That's a
like
good point.
hammer, yeah, you hit the last nail. You have no more work to do. You're
That
done.
that's a
But
great
I can't be done. If I'm done, then I'm useless. And if I'm useless,
Yeah, how am I going to protect the family when I already protected the family by killing Dracula? Maybe there is.
yeah, there's nothing to protect.
I got to
You
keep on protecting.
protected. You did it.
Yeah. What? Why? There's nothing out there. I bet you even though there's nothing out there, there has to be something out there. So I'm going to continue to do
Imagine we're
this.
doing this. Imagine we're doing this podcast, and they stopped making movies like decades ago. We finally hit the last movie. Reviewed every movie. We've done every spoiler on every movie ever made. And then we finally ended on Abraham's Boys. And we get done. We do the review, which we already did. Now we did do the spoiler.
Yeah.
All right. Do we say this is the last episode? Can we do that?
Don't scare me like that. You're right.
I don't think we can, Greg.
You're right.
We can't.
You're right.
Maybe TV's kind of cinematic, and we'll move on to TV. We must have a purpose in life. We must be doing something. You did all the movies. You did what you're supposed to do. Move on to something else.
That is very cool. So that is our spoiler discussion of Abraham's Boys. In the comments below, whether you're an or a YouTube subscriber or the way this conversation goes, if you're both Patreon or a subscriber to our Cinematics, either or, thank you so much for supporting us at Cinematics. Leave your comments, your thoughts on Abraham's Boys. What did you think about the ending? And Erik, if you don't have time, because after we're done recording, Erik has to do two more. He has to watch two more movies and then do interviews tomorrow.
No, I don't. This is the last. This is it.
See, Erik's playing. Erik's going on with the bit. Erik's going with the bit.
I'm learning a valuable lesson from Abraham's Boys. I know when to call it quits. This is
okay. Here, this spoiler value added stuff. Value added for Erik, not for me. He's quitting the show, folks. This is our last spoiler.
Greg, come with me. Ever. It's over. It's over. It's okay. We can put it to bed now.
All right, guys. Thanks again so much for supporting us on Cinematics. Again, comment below. Tell us what you think of Abraham's Boys, if it's very powerful or not. And we'll see you next time. I was going to say here at the movies, but that sounds so tropey. But you want to lead us off to something?
If you think your dad's killing vampires, be sure to cut his head off. Otherwise, don't do that.
Don't do that. Advice from Erik Chavez. Okay, sanctioned by Erik Chavez. We'll see you guys next time.
Don't cut your parents' heads off. That's advice from old Uncle Erik.
Yeah, that's a family show. We'll see you guys next time.